Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on, well, what appears to be a new reel. It's the Triton Mark 4 by Shimano. This is one of the reels that Scott found at a West Coast flea market. There seems to be a lot of interest in seeing how this one is made. And I guess, from Scott's standpoint, we don't know how old the greases are or anything in there. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that we can open it up, do some service on it, show you how the reel is made, and get it back to Scott to go take fishing again. So this reel gets confused sometimes with the old Daiwa 50H's because they have that little line mark there in red on the spools, and the 50H's have those as well. So if you're confused about it, this one is a Shimano, and we're going to take it apart and see what's inside. I'm going to start by taking off the exterior pieces, and as I do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. My channel covers all facets of fishing reel repair, all manufacturers and the like. And if you subscribe, please hit that notification button. That notification button will tell you when I am posting a reel, and you can make a decision as to whether you want to go see that or not. Well, I had to go find a bigger handle. That's what the noise was in the background there. There's a handle nut that's a little bit bigger than the traditional pen one. And pens fit the Daiwas, sometimes they fit the Shimanos. This one is from an international size lever drag reel, but it does the trick. We've taken the handle off by removing the screw and the set screw. Now we're going to take off the star adjuster. And this is a good place to tell you to take pictures along the way. If you don't know how the reel comes together or comes apart, well, don't learn on the job. If you will, take the pictures, stop at critical intersections, snap a photo with your digital camera or your cell phone, or use a video camera, or do whatever you want to do, but take a picture. That way you can be assured that if you get stuck on the reassembly, you know where those pieces and parts go. Well, these have what I call thumb screws. They kind of come through the side plate. Again, another reason, if you look at the 50H, these things are so darn similar in two different manufacturers, but the 50H has a similar side plate set up with these screws. And this one has a mag control on the side for casting and to eliminate some backlash. But otherwise, they're pretty standard kind of reels. And with those side plate screws out, we can remove the reel. This one, needless to say, has been on there a while, so it's going to take a little bit of time. And even though the outside looks beautiful, the inside, well, it looks like it's had its share here of old grease in that. So you want to make sure that we service that as part of this. Well, here's your mag component to this. You have a magnetic, and then you have the metal trim on the outside. I think that's set in with a C-clip. And these are all plastic parts, so they do not need to be lubricated. They do need to be cleaned, however. And on the one side of the mag ring here, we do have a little bit of the grease and the like, so let's get that out of the way. If you needed to remove this case for any particular reason, there is a snap ring here. Okay, so inside here, once you take the magnetic ring off, you're going to just find a carrier, and the carrier has actually got a ratchet on it from 1 to 10. That's going to move this piece higher or lower, maybe we can see it here, as we turn it nearer or further away from the spool. That's the furthest away from the spool, and you should be able to see it moving inward as you rotate up. That's going to exert the mag force coming from the magnet to this metal plate, and you'll notice in this clip here there's a series of springs, and maybe that's the way you can see. This is completely backed off. There's a lot of space here. The spring is holding that carrier firm, and then as you turn it forward, you'll notice that those springs basically compress back to nothing, and that releases the tension on that side plate. So we're just going to put that together. There's no moving parts there other than that one wheel, and that one wheel does not need to be lubricated. The part that does need to be lubricated is the bearing on the spool here. That is going to assure that that spool spins freely on that side. And here's your metal spool. That's what the mag assembly is going to be running for, and trying to slow down as you increase that mag pressure. All right, the star adjuster is going to go into my parts tray, as does all of the pieces that I take out. I use a fast food container. I recommend that you use a parts tray. I really don't care which parts tray approach you have, even if you use a parts tray. Maybe you're one of those that likes to put all the pieces in a row as you take them off, and you use that as a guide to how to put them back. That's your prerogative, but come up with an organization plan so that you know how that comes together. This is a good place to take the picture before we remove those bridge screws now. Notice you got a jack that's onto your eccentric. Notice the position of your free spool release spring in case that becomes an issue. Notice where your anti-reverse spring goes in relation to your anti-reverse dog, and get as much information on that as you can before you detach this and maybe have one of those oops moments. So let's go ahead and take the 4 bridge plate screws out now. These screws are Phillips head. They also have that through slot, so you can use a straight flat blade screwdriver if you like. Now I'm taking these out and I'm going to put these right onto my table here. I want to make sure that all of these screws are the same size. I suspect that they're not. And if they're not, I want to note, well, there you go, they're not. So I want to note which ones go where. So I know at least one long one. All right, so we have 3 that are short, and then the long one is opposite that anti-reverse dog. So that's what you want to note. And then you want to get these off the table before you knock them around. All right, I'm going to cup my hand. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen when this bridge set comes out. And we're just going to push this away now. That should free the assembly and give us the opportunity to clean and lubricate the reel. So that's the inside of the reel. You can see the posts set up here for your anti-reverse dog. Here's your yoke assembly with your springs and your jack for the release. And this is all pretty dirty. So we're going to take the time to take these pieces apart and clean them. The inside of this case looks pretty good. I'm going to just get the old grease off the side here. This grease has been around a while. My guess is the reel has been around, but it doesn't look very used. So I'm wondering if this may even be the original grease that just has dried up over time. All right, we're going to oil that bearing on the side plate. Make sure you give it a good drink. I'm sure it hasn't had any oil or grease in a while. Take your picture here. Know how it goes. Of course, I'm taking pictures. Sometimes people say, well, you always say take pictures and you don't. Well, I do. I got the video running here. Those 2 springs go into the parts tray, and they go in real quick because I don't want to have those fall to the side. We should be able to release this whole assembly now. That's your drag stack. Lay them out as you will. And then we should be able to get this bottom one off and get the assembly off by pushing this pin through. This pin should hold that gear sleeve through the shaft. Sometimes you can push it through, sometimes it takes a little bit more. And I guess I don't have the hand strength. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go move this over. We'll take the rest of the moving parts off so I don't lose them when I go do this. I'm going to remove the bridge, balance of the bridge parts. First one up then is the yoke assembly here. This one seems pretty tight. Just walk it up those 2 sleeves. Notice that you have a rounded slot side and you have a gear slide, and I hope your pictures took you down that path of which way they go. Here's your jack. You can clean that off while we're at it. Clean off the back end of this. I'm going trying to remove that spring right now because if I have to tap out that pin, I don't want this spring shooting away somewhere. I can go into my parts tray. Take the dog out too, that'll slide off the post. And now I have to go off camera for a moment to tap the pin out. So I will just put this on hold for a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, well I found I really didn't need to go off camera too much. So I used a small punch or an awl to push through. I knocked the pin out. And now I can remove that whole sleeve. I'm just going to put that pin right back there so I don't lose it. Sit that in my parts tray for a moment. You want to do that so that you can clean the stem for that gear sleeve and get all the oils and greases off the internal side of this. So again, I'm kind of curious here. I think the drag washers will probably tell the story. I'm curious if the reel's ever been fished or not. It may very well be that it's just the older greases that have dried up. Okay, let's not have a whole lot of pieces and parts laying around. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get the bridge sleeve back on. In order to do that, I need to find my grease brush. There it is. And we're going to use fishing reel grease. Just a light coat onto the stem. Go ahead and grab the shaft now. And then I had used the soft blow hammer, that's what this is. And so you just want to reverse the process. You want to tap it in and you want to make sure that you clear that shoulder so that you can put that main gear back together again. Alright, these are going to tell us whether it's been used or not. They're going to tell us in a hurry, I guess. I'm going to push the drag washers out. Gotta find a little screwdriver here to work this one up. And I think what we have here is probably the original washers. They still have a lot of grease on it. There's a little bit of kind of tarnish. But overall I would say the reel is used but lightly used. These are fabric washers. We're going to go ahead put fresh grease on there. You want to grease them up. I used my gloved hand to roll that around, and then we're going to wipe them down. You don't want to leave excess grease on there. It serves no purpose. I noticed while I'm doing that there's a little bit of grease on the main gear, so let's go clean that up. I'm going to take a hard bristle brush and we're going to pull through the gear teeth, and you can see these gear teeth show no evidence of wear whatsoever. Again, it doesn't mean that the reel hasn't been used, but it certainly hasn't been abused. And I pull those strokes when I do this into the paper towel so that the old grease goes on the paper towel rather than on my. Okay, to start rebuilding the bridge then, you've set your yoke assembly with your pinion gear. Now's a good time to put that anti-reverse dog back in. It's a little bit easier than the way I did it the last time I took it off. You want to post up. Make sure that the beak intersects with the adjuster on the back. Then you can just use a pick. Go ahead and grab that and put that over the top. Post. And then just check to make sure that you have your anti-reverse working fine. And then we can go ahead and take that main gear. We're going to want to put some grease on that. And then we can set the main gear. Now I've already taken care of the first of these washers. What you want to do is you want to put dry grease onto these to make sure that they stay flexible and rigid. at the same time. So put the grease on and then wipe off the excess. I use a glove for this. I did that to the first one that's in there when I was re-greasing the other. First one in is a keyed washer. It's round with a rectangular center. Then we put the second one of the drag washers in and make sure that your metals are nice and clean and free of debris. The middle one has the pointed exterior pieces on it. That's called an eared washer. Do the same thing one more time with the last of the fabric washers. Then we have the last of the keyed washers. That's the round one with the rectangular center. Then we have two tension or cap washers that go next. And then this roller assembly goes on. And then the top cap goes on, spacer for your star adjuster. Well, the only thing we missed, looks like, is this silly little guy here, the jack. And fortunately, we don't have to pull everything out to do that. That simply slides in from behind. That's the danger of not putting it into the parts tray. For whatever reason, I left that off to the side. We'll just slide that back in, just like that. And now you're set up for your bridge. So let's just kind of review quickly. We have the jack, we have the yoke and the pinion gear, the main gear. You saw all the drag assemblies inside. Tension washers and the rest of the stack. Anti-reverse with the spring to hold it in place. And speaking of springs, we got two more springs. One goes on each side here to complete the rebuild of the bridge. With that in place then, it's been a while. I don't remember if I oiled the back bearing or not, so we'll go ahead and put a little bit more oil in there. It won't hurt. And then we're going to just turn this whole thing and seat that into the bridge, or into the side plate. When you're doing that, you're going to have to line a couple of things up. This is probably the most critical right here. You need to line the jack and the eccentric. And get that in place. And then the rest should just press down and seat accordingly. There we go. I heard a nice little click there. That's what I'm looking for. And if you look on the other side, you should see that these screw holes are in a good place. I'm going to take that long one first. This is a good time to tell you if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular. Leave them in the comment section. I do try to help, and I do try to increase your knowledge and awareness. That's kind of the whole idea behind Second Chance. It's to teach you how to do your reels, how to keep them serviced, how to give old, worn, and tired out ones a second chance, but more importantly, let you learn the hobby of reel repair so that you can keep your reels fishing for a long time to come. All right, the last of the screws here. And then I'm going to take a short break and we'll come back and we'll complete the rest of this assembly. Okay, let's finish this up then. We just finished the lubrication, cleaning, and servicing of the gear side part. We showed you how the magnetic feature works on this, how that dial button controls the in and out movement of the magnet, and how that magnet works against the spool to provide stickiness, if you will. And now we just want to put the rest of it back together again. So a light coating of grease onto the spool shaft. Just align your sides now so that they mesh with the screw holes. Get them started. Make sure that the case is nice and firm, that you don't have any breaks in the case at all. And hand tighten them to make, there you go, that's the snap I was looking for. So Shimano had the Triton series, beautiful series of reels. They run everything from the smaller ones like the 200 Triton all the way up to the big Beastmasters and trolling reels. This one's kind of in the middle of the pack. They're all wonderful reels, well made, as you can see in the materials that were inside this reel. And if you bought one of those, well, you probably never had a reason to buy another reel. Okay, we're going to just put the star adjuster back on now. handle. The handle screw. I always want to call it a nut because I use a wrench on it, but it's a screw. That big wrench. Now when you tighten this down, you want to make sure that you align the scallop in the handle with the screw placement so that you can put the set screw in. And we'll be ready for a test. Okay, nothing left but the final test then. Give it a crank. Or when the free spools, just give it a spin while we're in free spool. This adjuster here will, if you back it off, it'll let you cast further. Remember, you got ball bearings on each side, so it's going to be a very smooth adjust. Generally speaking, they will tell you to set your mag drag. This is on a scale of 1 to 10. Set it at 5, and that'll, if you're finding that you don't have a lot of casting, but you don't have any backlash either, that's probably the right number. If you are compromising the distance, then you're probably too high. If you've got a lot of distance but you're getting backlash, you're probably too low. So just play around with that, but start that adjustment in the middle side and see how it goes. All right, let's put it in gear, give it a ride. Beautiful turning reel. What is as expected. Tighten down those drag washers. Yeah, they're holding nice. And what can I say? Beautiful reel. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please, again, subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit that notification button. To all of our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do. To everybody, please stay safe, stay well, stay watching, and I wish you great fishing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.